Hi guys, welcome back to the channel today. My name is Osereme. If today is your first time seeing my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. Hit on the subscribe button and also turn on the notification bell so you're notified when I post my next video. So on this channel, if you don't already know, I share sewing tutorials and pattern drafting. So if that kind of content seems like something you're interested in, you know what to do. Hit on the subscribe button down below. So in today's video, I want to share with you guys how to draft a strapless bustier pattern. If you're interested in learning how to draft the perfect bustier with a side dart, definitely keep on watching and let's get started.
So guys, as you can see, I have my pattern paper and my other drawing materials here, my tape, ruler, and of course my markers. So the first thing I went ahead to do was to draw a straight line across this part here, and I also went ahead to divide this pattern paper into two equal halves. So this straight line across this side is the shoulder line. As you can see, I've labeled it SL, and I use this other line here to separate this paper into two equal halves. So I'm just going to take one part here, which is this side. So I will draft the front pattern on this side. So I'm going to place my tape from this shoulder line here. I'm going to come down to my bust point, which is 10 inches. Still leaving that the tape at that shoulder line, I came down to 13 inches, which is my under bust point. Now from my shoulder to my waist in front, I have 16 inches. So for this particular pattern, you will need to take your shoulder to waist measurement separately for both the front and the back. So when I took mine in front, I had 16 inches. So when I did the same thing at my back, from my shoulder to my waist at the back, I had 14 inches. Whenever you take that measurement, you notice that the shoulder to waist in front is always longer than what you have for shoulder to waist at the back. So as you can see, I've drawn across these lines, the bust line, the under bust line, and the waistline. So I'm coming back to this side now where I want to use for the back. I've measured from my shoulder to my bust point, which is 10 inches. Now from my shoulder to my waist for my back, I told you guys that it was 14 inches. So I'm just marking that 14 inches point, and I'm going to use my ruler to connect these points. Okay. So now coming back to the front pattern, from the center front, I'm coming in by 3 inches, and I'll come down by 3 inches as well. So this is just a standard neckline. I'm just going to connect a round neckline here for the front, and from the middle line as well, again I am going to go in by half of my shoulder measurement, which is 7 inches, and then from that point I'll come down and then connect that point to the top of my neckline for my shoulder slope. So for the back as well, I went in by 3 inches and came down by 1 inch to get the neckline for the back. So I'll do the same thing here. From the center here, I'll divide my shoulder measurement by 2 and make a point there, then come down by 1 inch and then connect it into the neckline to give me my shoulder slope. So now the next thing I want to do is to get my armhole depth. So how I normally do that is to divide my bust measurement by 6 and add 1.5 to whatever I get. So when I measure that, I had 7 inches. So I'm just trying to mark that same measurement or the same out. So this is 7. I'm just extending into the straight line so that I'll be able to get the same measurement all the way around. So this um, armhole depth is going to be the same thing for both the front and the back. Okay, so I just connected that 7-inch point all the way around like this, and I'm just going to label it the chest line CL on both sides. Okay, so now I'm going to connect from the top of my shoulder to meet this new chest line. So I'll just use my pencil for this. I'll just connect it here and do the same thing on the back pattern as well. So now from this top to the chest line here, I'm going to divide what I have into two equal halves to get the middle of my armhole. Here I'll make a point here, and from that point I'll go in by half an inch. So now this chest line, from the middle point here, I'm going to divide my bust measurement into 4 and make a point there. So now I'll connect these 3 points with my curved rule to give me a nice armhole. So I'm just also going to repeat the same process for the other side, just to show you guys like an armhole, because we are not really going to be making use of these armholes. So now it's time to start drafting the bustier pattern itself. So from this center line here that is dividing the front and back pattern, I'm coming in by half of my nipple to nipple measurement, which is the same thing as half of my bust span, which is 3.5. So I'm going to mark it on the bust line, on the under bust line, and on the waistline here on the front pattern. So I'm just going to use a straight ruler to connect all of them together like this. So after doing this on the waistline, I'm going to go out by half an inch on both sides. So for this, you can actually use 0.75 if you are more if you're busty, but half an inch on both sides actually works perfectly. But if you're busty, use 0.75. So as you can see, I just connected these points to meet the top of my dart. And on the back pattern, I'm doing the same thing, half of my nipple to nipple measurements, and I marked it on the chest line, the bust line, and the waistline. You'll notice that on the front pattern, this line didn't get to the chest line. Okay, so just like I did in front, on the waistline, I'm going out of this line by half an inch on both sides, but from the chest line, I am coming down by 1 inch, and then from this 1 inch point, I'll just connect my dots to meet the waistline. So I actually hope that you guys understand what I've done here. So now coming down to the top of my shoulder here on the front pattern, I'm going to divide what I have here into two equal halves and then connect it to meet the bust point, just like you see me doing here in this video. So once you have done that, the next thing you want to do is from this chest line, we are going to go up by a little bit, some inches, because we need to be able to have our curve for whatever neckline we want it to have. And also you don't want it to be too deep and your boobs will now be showing. So from the chest line, I've come up by 1.5 inch on the front pattern. You can actually come up by 2 inches if you want, but for this particular one, I came up by 1.5 inch. And on this line that I had earlier, I've come out from both sides of the line by half of an inch, like this on both sides. You can also use 0.75 if you are very busty. Okay, so from this point here, I'm just connecting curves to meet the bust point. So I'm making sure it's not too curvy, but at the same time it's not like very straight. So just go ahead and do the same thing that you see me doing right now. So guys, once you're through with that, you want to create your sweetheart neckline. So we want to be using the sweetheart neckline here. You can actually decide to start this sweetheart from the chest line, but you know that the chest line is actually very close to the bust. So there's a chance that your boobs might show if you want to maintain the chest line. So from this chest line, I decided to go up by half an inch, and I'm just going to connect like a curve from this half an inch to the top of my dart. So now we want to come to the under bust and do the under bust tightening. So now on this under bust, to get the amount of dart that you're going to be taking on the under bust, you're going to minus your bust measurement from your under bust measurement. So when you minus your round bust measurement from your round under bust measurement, so for me, my bust measurement is 34, my round under bust measurement is 28. So by the time I separated that, I ended up having 6. So whatever you have, divided by 4 again. So I divided that 6 into 4, and I have 1.5 inch. So I'll be giving half inch, the smaller part, to this side going towards the center of my blouse, and the remaining 1 inch I will give it to this side going towards the side. So whatever you get, share it in a way that it's unequal. So you give the bigger part to the side going towards the side, just like I did here, towards the side of the blouse, and then the smaller part to the part going towards the center. So now from the bust line, I'll just connect a curve to meet this point here, and on this other side here, I'll do the same. I'll connect a slight curve to meet this point here as well. So now from this point, I'll just connect straight lines to meet the waistline. So guys, I just realized that we have not curved this part into the armhole. I'm just going to use my curve rule here. From this point, from the top of this dart, I'll just connect a curve into the armhole. So like this, just blend it into the armhole, and basically you're done. So now the next thing we want to do is I'm going to start adding body measurements. So I'm going to come down to this waistline here. So I'm going to divide my waist measurement into 4. You can see I'm taking my measurement from the center line. I made a point there and I measured my dart that I had here. So what I had was 2 inches. I replaced it there. So now on this under bust line, I marked my under bust measurement divided by 4, and then I'm replacing the dart I have here as well. Now coming down to this chest line, I'm going to mark my bust measurement divided by 4 as well. And I'm just going to mark it here. And then I'll mark the dart I have at the top of my cup here. Replace it. It was 1 inch. So I just replaced the 1 inch. And I'm just going to connect the sides, all the points, all the last points to give me my side. And you'll notice that I've not added any stitching allowance to any of those patterns. We'll be adding stitching allowance when we are cutting on the actual fabric. So now it's time to take away our side dart. So the measurement you are going to be using for your side dart is the difference between your shoulder to waist in front and your shoulder to waist at the back. So mine shoulder to waist in front is 16 and shoulder to waist at the back is 14. So the difference between that is 2 inches. So from the bust line, I came down by 2 inches. So I'm going to connect a line from this point here into the bust point like this. So I'll just be marking this area out, this 2 inch here, because it's a dart that we're going to be cutting off later. Okay, so I also mark these ones here just so you know we're going to be cutting it out in this one here. So now we're through with the front pattern. All we have to do is close the dart and then finish it up. Now coming down to this back pattern, on the chest line here I just divide my shoulder measurement by 4 and then come down to the waistline, divide my waist measurement by 4, replace the dart intake I have here. The back pattern is actually very simple, and I'm just going to connect these 2 points together like this. Okay, so I'll just use my marker to trace out this dart so that you guys would see it more clearly. So in order for us to eliminate any bulge at the back of our blouse when we fix our zipper later, from the center of the back I came in by half an inch. So from this half an inch point, I'm just going to connect somewhere into the neckline, and I'm marking these areas as well that are going to be cut out for my dart. Okay, so now we're done drafting these whole patterns. I'm just going to go ahead and cut the front pattern out so that we can cover up the side dart. So let me first of all cut a straight line here in the middle. It will stop very close to the bust line, and then from this bust line here I will cut again and get very close to the bust point. Can you see? So that we will be able to easily move this paper around here. So now I want to place this inside like this. Make sure that you don't cut it totally off. So you just place the dart away like this. So just cover it in like this, and I'm just going to use a tape to hold it in place. So now you notice that by the time you seal up your dart like this, it's going to be looking a little bit short on this side. So I'm just going to connect a point from this armhole down to the waistline to eliminate this shortness that we have here. Okay, so now I'll just go ahead and cut out every other part of the front and back pattern. So for those of you who might be interested in having yoke in your own blouse, just cut out the top area of both the front and back patterns, and you can use them as your yoke. So this right here is the back pattern. I'll just label back. This is the center front and this is the side front. So when you're using these to cut out on your actual fabric, you make sure that you have all your fabrics in a fold. So this is the center back right here, and this area is the side back. Okay, so, and again, you remember that we've not added any stitching allowance to any of these patterns. So when you're also cutting on your actual fabric, you need to add the amount of allowances that you need. And for the center back, if you wanted to have a zipper, you will need to add zipper allowance to the back. So now I want to show you guys how this particular pattern actually works. So I have my tape here. I want to just use my tape to hold this bustier together and show you guys how the cup area will look like by the time you are through making this for your client. So this is something I've been doing lately. When I draft a pattern, I just use my pattern paper and my tape to check how the bustier looks, to know if it's going to be looking flat or have a nice curve. So as you can see, I've taped it down at the ends, the straight ends. Now this curvy part is the one that is a little bit technical, so you're just going to pick one and just pass your tape on one side. So don't put all the tape on this one end. So just use like half of the tape on this end here. I hope you guys understand what I mean. Don't use the tape to tape every part of this particular part of the paper. Okay, so once you're done taping it like this, just go ahead and cut it out like this to just give you room for movement, so that you'll be able to curve it around. You know, this kind of curves are actually very hard to put together. So now I'm just going to go ahead and just gum this other side together. I'm just gumming the cup areas together. Just be very patient with this. You know, you're working with paper, so if you're not careful, it's going to actually tear off. And again, you have gum, so it's not like the easiest thing to do, but it's actually what is, so that you know what you are working with. So as you can see, I've been able to put the both pieces together around the curved area like this. So just go ahead and blend everything together using your hand. Just blend the tape in, just like you see me doing like this. And once you're done, you're going to see how one side of your cup is going to be looking. Can you see? So you can see now that there's space on this particular cup. So now I am actually convinced that, okay, when I use this pattern to cut out on my actual fabric and I use it to sew for a client, it's going to actually be very nice, because this is just one side. Imagine when the other side is here, we're going to have a very full like bustier area. So yeah, that's basically all for this particular pattern that I've been using lately. And again, if you join the side back and the side front, because we have taken in the dart in front, you see that it's exactly the same thing, and no, the front is no longer than the back. Okay, so yeah, this is basically all for the drafting of this pattern. And one thing I would be showing you guys later is how to actually turn this pattern into a curved corset. This is like the easiest thing ever, to turn this particular pattern into a cupped corset. But anyways, we'll be stopping this particular tutorial here today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm actually excited about this pattern because it works for everyone. Whatever size you are, it's going to work. So thank you so much for watching this video today. I'll be seeing you guys in my next one. If you're yet to subscribe, hit on the subscribe button. I'll see you. Bye.